This is Positively Montana, sponsored by Benefis Health System.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Positively Montana. I'm Hallie Schwannard. Each week we travel the state looking for stories and people that inspire. Let's begin with a hearing dog program that had a long history in Missoula that is now back. Paws Abilities trained service dogs decades ago. We first told you about the resurrection of the program about a year ago with the first litter of puppies in training. Now their top recruit is ready to get to work.
From a passel of puppies to a lifelong companion dog. This is Dottie, part of that first litter, now trained to be the ears for her new human, Carly.
So my plans, honestly, is to have her enmeshed in every part of my life. Like, I'm going to take her with me to the office and we can walk to work and she'll live with me at home.
Carly was born deaf and uses cochlear implants. When she's not wearing them, she can't hear.
So here she comes. There's no treat, so she goes back to alert.
With sound training, Dottie can be her ears, alerting her to somebody at the door or a smoke alarm, for example.
There, perfect. Now have her heel and tell her she's good.
Possibilities founder Glenn Martin's been training dogs like Dottie for more than 50 years.
It's wonderful to see because we had a long history here before, from 1986 up until 2002. So we saw the difference these dogs can make in somebody's life. And there have been dogs that have saved lives, but in every case, they're dogs that change lives. And so to see that and the difference it makes in somebody's life is so rewarding, and that's our mission.
Glenn worked at the San Francisco SPCA, running the hearing dog program. Coming back to Montana, he's created a regional training center for the California-based program in Possibilities.
Yeah, she just puts one paw up and then just keeps it there.
His trainees spend their first months with foster families as they learn the ropes. Glenn matches the right dog with the person based on skills and personalities for what should be a lifelong relationship.
But when you can place a wonderful dog like this with somebody like Carly, that makes you, I don't know, you feel so good about it. You know, you feel that you've really helped somebody.
Initially, I came into this thinking it's going to be like a peace of mind, but I wouldn't be surprised if that perspective changes and it's going to be more of a game changer.
In Missoula, Jill Valley, MTN News.
Hunting, ranching, and farming is a way of life for many here in Montana, but for some, that equipment may be hard to use. There's one woman who makes adaptive equipment for hunters, ranchers, and farmers with disabilities.
In the snowy Bridger Mountains, you'll find Robert Inigal.
You can get me getting paralyzed for the second time.
A man who's always on the move.
But yeah, like I can stop on stuff like this.
Rob is a para-Olympic athlete.
And I'm like, go, and I'll throw it out. And they're like, are you kidding me? I'm like, yeah.
He loves to fish, ski, and hunt.
Hi.
And on top of all of that, this husband and father of two also operates a strawberry fig farm and dog breeding business.
Who's that?
Impressive, especially after the accident that literally turned Rob's life upside down.
I remember the front flip felt like slow motion, and then I remember rolling about 3.5, 4 times. And I remember the very last roll, I was holding the ceiling while we were rolling, and I remember seeing dirt, sky.
About 11 years ago, Rob and his best friend Ben were in a traumatic car accident.
And they said that they were getting a helicopter, and I'm like, oh, good for my buddy. And they're like, no, the helicopter's for you. And that's when I realized that I was pretty screwed up at the time.
Robert suffered a spinal cord injury, partially paralyzing him from the waist down.
Come on, yeah.
But instead of leaving his passions behind, Rob adapted, as painful and frustrating as it was.
At the end of the day, you can't look at paralyzation as my life's over. It's just like, okay, you got to learn how to adapt. And then I think adaptive is probably the best word to describe people who are in a wheelchair.
Rob not only continues to operate his farm, he's also still pursuing the hobbies he's always loved, like hunting, in part thanks to the Cutting Fences Foundation.
That $20,000 off-road hunting vehicle, I would never have access to it.
There aren't many organizations that specifically target farmers and ranchers with disabilities and try to serve them and meet their needs. So that's where it all started.
Kendra Lewis founded the nonprofit organization during her doctoral capstone of occupational therapy school. Over the past 3 years, Cutting Fences has loaned adaptive equipment to more than 100 farmers, ranchers, hunters, and others to enjoy the outdoors.
So it was a moment to share hope for individuals and kind of create a network of resiliency as well.
I feel like I get to do more cool stuff now than I ever got to do before I got paralyzed.
Cool stuff that he loves doing because of the help of a friend.
One power chair or one manual chair doesn't always do the trick for living a full and functional lifestyle.
In Bozeman, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
The International Traditional Game Society is dedicated to preserving, promoting, and teaching traditional indigenous games of North America and beyond. These games are deeply rooted in indigenous cultures, serving as tools for physical activity, education, and cultural preservation.
The Montana Historical Society presented on some of the history and cultural impacts of traditional tribal games and even let participants get hands-on.
The International Traditional Game Society discussed the historical significance of a variety of games played by all ages, ranging from team games to seasonal games. These traditional games not only provided entertainment, but taught skills like counting, quick reflexes, and promoted cultural values. Deanna Brady Leader has been with the International Traditional Game Society since its formation in 1999.
Today, I am so absolutely thrilled to have the older group of people that we're working with, because a lot of European culture says you don't play after you're 18. Play is for kids, but we know in the old culture they played from birth to death.
Indigenous peoples were some of the only cultures to have team games and introduced them to European culture. Games like lacrosse and hockey were influenced by Indigenous sports.
One of the biggest things that people don't know is that it's extremely rare in the whole world to find team games, and they were across the Americas.
Games played by the participants ranged from a version of rock, paper, scissors to guessing games.
I enjoyed the stick and rock game, the guessing game. These games or adaptations of these games I think would be essential with today's kids because they don't interact with people. They don't interact with each other very much. They're mostly on a screen of some kind.
The International Traditional Game Society also teaches the significance of these games in schools across the state to make sure Montanans know and understand the history and culture of its people. In Great Falls, Anissa Coomer, MTN News.
Speaking of games, there's a game where you can solve a mystery while learning more about Montana's history. The original Governor's Mansion is a historic and beautifully preserved landmark. It was built in 1888 and was originally a private residence during the gold rush. The state purchased it in 1913 to serve as the governor's residence. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of history in this old home.
Have you ever wished that your favorite childhood board game could come to life? Well, at the original Governor's Mansion in Helena, that does come true through the game of Clue, solving a mystery while also learning about the mansion's history.
They're getting to experience history without even really knowing they're learning history, and then at the end they come away being like, oh wow, like I picked up some information that I never knew about before, all while I was having fun. So for me, that's the best of both worlds.
Currently, the Montana Historical Society is hosting live-action Clue games to private parties to enjoy team bonding, all while learning about a historic landmark. The original Governor's Mansion helps bring the board game to life because of its many rooms.
So we tried to incorporate as many elements from the board game as we could in terms of gameplay. So you're moving from room to room in the mansion, just like you would be moving from space to space in the board game. And we have a set of murder weapons that you have to investigate. We have all of the classic Clue suspects that you have to investigate in the rooms themselves. And so that's where we sort of mesh it with the history of the mansion. So all of the murder weapons are actually artifacts from the mansion.
Tour groups are divided into teams of 6, with each team representing the classic Clue characters like Professor Plum. Artifacts range from candelabras to napkin holders. The search to find the suspect, murder weapon, and room the murder occurred in allow players to really engage with the historic site.
And museums are fantastic and I love to go and look, but it's so much more meaningful if you give people a way to interact with it. And I think in the original Governor's Mansion, with so many rooms and so many artifacts to look at, playing a game of Clue is such a great way to get you to really look.
The Montana Historical Society will open the game to the public on February 13th for a singles night. The event is free of charge, but donations to the mansion are encouraged.
Reporting in Helena, I'm Madeline Heath, MTN News.
People from across the country travel to Bozeman for its access to skiing at Big Sky and Bridger Bowl, but there is also some great cross-country skiing available right in town.
After Bozeman finally received a fair amount of snow this week, skiers say that trails around the community are in perfect condition for Nordic skiing.
Winter's just not that fun if there's no snow.
Emily and Alex are two local skiers who say they've really taken advantage of the snow that came this week.
So happy to see the snow. We were just talking about how it's just like a little wonderland out here. It's like this little special place that we get to come. So yeah, we get really excited for our snow coverage down low so that we can do this.
The trail these skiers are on today is on Bridger Creek Golf Course, offering 7 miles of beginner-friendly groomed trails.
And the track is in great shape, thanks to BSF.
BSF, or Bridger Ski Foundation, is a nonprofit that's taken on the responsibility of maintaining the network of free community Nordic ski trails in Bozeman.
It's such a great resource for the community, and being able to come so close to home and not have to like make a whole day of it, you know, being able to come out for an hour or two, and it's so lovely.
Nordic skiing is different than traditional downhill skiing. Also known as cross-country skiing, many say it's a great way to exercise while enjoying the outdoors.
Fitness aspect and you know, getting out with friends is really lovely. I was just out by myself today, but having that social time and just being outside in winter, I feel like is so good for mental health.
It's kind of serves two purposes: fresh air and fun, and also fitness for the summer season when you just go, go, go.
And local skiers say BSF and other resources offer plenty of opportunities to get out and try cross-country skiing for yourself.
Get on out there, get some fresh air. It's good for all parts of life.
In Bozeman, Heaven Van, MTN News.
Still to come on this edition of Positively Montana, established to promote the art and craft of quilting. Hear how the Falls Quilt Guild is helping kids at hospitals when we come back. Welcome back to Positively Montana. For 25 years, the Great Falls Quilt Guild has been doing its part to take some of the fear out of hospital stays for children. They have provided more than 6,000 teddy bears and handmade quilts to kids in their most vulnerable times.
The Falls Quilt Guild is celebrating 25 years of their Adopt a Bear program, providing teddy bears and handmade quilts to children at Benefice Hospital.
Susan Seary began the Adopt a Bear program 25 years ago, and the Falls Quilt Guild has since provided over 6,000 bears and quilts to children in Benefice hospitals in Great Falls, Choteau, and Fort Benton.
When children are in their most vulnerable times in the hospital, something that could kind of
make them comfortable and take their mind off while they're there.
In partnership with the Benefice Foundation, the members of the Falls Quilt Guild spend time handcrafting unique quilts and buy customized teddy bears with funds raised at their quilt show and other donations. Healthcare members of Benefice then give out the quilts and bears to children throughout the year.
We gave out this year, for the year 2024, 258 total bears. It's a very difficult, challenging time, uncertain time for them, scary time for them. And when you see the kids, you give them the bears and the quilts, and you see how much they hold on to them and it means so much to them. It's a huge comfort.
The Falls Quilt Guild also participates in other programs like Comforters for Kids, where they provide quilts to emergency services like the fire and police departments to keep in their trunks for when they encounter a child in an emergency.
We make the quilts and love donating them. We love to have new members, and we welcome anyone that would love to come and join us. And if you'd like to donate, you can donate through Benefice Foundation, Adopt a Bear.
In Great Falls, Anissa Coomer, MTN News.
300 schools across the United States are finalists in the Solve for Tomorrow STEM competition. Among those schools, Montana School for the Deaf and Blind.
The Montana School for the Deaf and Blind are one of 5 state finalists for a nationwide STEM competition. Erin Barr has taught at the Montana School for the Deaf and Blind for a decade.
I have been, pretty much since I've been here, promoting STEM, and I'm just in love with STEM.
And she's not new to the Samsung STEM competitions.
This is actually the 3rd year that I've had students that have become state finalists. We've gone on 2 times to be state winners.
However, there's a twist.
This is my first time doing this project, however, with middle school students.
The Solve for Tomorrow STEM competition inspires young students to come up with innovative solutions to the world's problems. The young students at MSDB chose a topic close to home.
They are working on trying to keep invasive mussels out of Montana.
Right now, they are in their initial stages of planning. If they are selected as the state winner, they will submit a video to Samsung and students will focus on research. If they do not proceed, they still win a $2,500 prize pack from Samsung to pay for STEM-related items in the classroom.
I think it's so great because it makes me feel positive about the future and what kind of the students we have now can bring to society and the ideas that they will have to improve life.
And Barr is confident they have what it takes to continue on.
I think that my students in the competition have a really good plan. So it actually kind of a little surprised me one of their particular ideas for it. So I am feeling pretty confident that we could continue on.
Their national recognition showing what the young students are truly capable of.
I think that it makes a clear statement that even if you have a visual impairment or if you're deaf, that you're just as capable as any other student and able to do amazing things in life.
State finalist results are shared on January 29th, and national finalists will not be announced until later in the year. In Great Falls, I'm Tommy Lynch, MTN News.
A sometimes overlooked classic play toy is the inspiration behind the artwork of Helena's Hannah Harvey. And through a partnership with the Myrna Loy, you will have a chance to see her creations for yourself.
I like to sit and have my blanket and my hot cocoa and
Helena native Hannah Harvey responded to an open call for the Myrna's Jailhouse Gallery space with a pitch for her Wes Anderson-inspired paper doll collection.
I really hadn't thought about paper dolls in a long time until I started this project. It just became like the perfect way to express what I wanted to express and express how I felt about these characters.
For 2 years, Harvey has been sketching, painting, and cutting out characters from the Grand Budapest Hotel, the Life Aquatic, and the Darjeeling Limited.
It really came down to me just wanting to show appreciation for something that I love. I think of my show as an homage to him and his films.
A longtime fan of Anderson's movies, Harvey says this show is a full circle moment.
The Myrna was where I saw my first Wes Anderson movie, Moonrise Kingdom, when I was probably in middle school. And so it just felt really appropriate to have it there.
So unfortunately, Harvey says she will not be selling her paper dolls anytime soon, but she is interested in making prints of them for people to buy. The opening of Normal People, the characters of Wes Anderson by Hannah Harvey, is Thursday at 5 p.m., followed by a screening of Anderson's rendition of Fantastic Mr. Fox at 7. Harvey's Wes Anderson-inspired paper doll exhibit will be up and running through March. In Helena, I'm Allie Kaiser, MTN News.
Still to come on this edition of Positively Montana, a community resilience hub focusing on enhancing health, well-being, and cultural engagement. More on the project building a higher quality of life for future generations. Stay with us. Welcome back to Positively Montana. A big boost for Butte. The mining city landed a $20 million grant from the EPA to build a community recreation center. A win for the city and community.
Well, many in the mining city already consider Butte to be a space of resilience, but today, members of Butte-Silver Bow County are celebrating a $20 million grant award from the EPA to build a new resilience hub that will not only focus on the health and well-being of citizens, but also arts and culture.
Culturally, this community embodies the very definition of resilience. We bear a unique capability as individuals from this place to endure and adapt to changing conditions. And it is emblematic both of our industrial history and it continues to contribute to our revitalization. This is because of who we are.
Julia Crane is the Butte-Silver Bow Planning Director and has been working with local business leaders and citizens for the past 5 years to configure a plan that outlines the community's needs and vision.
These needs have been identified through multiple plans over the years, and all of these plans pointed in one direction, and that's this direction, this vision that you see before you.
Last month, Butte appeared on the list of recipients for the EPA's Community Change Grants made possible through the Inflation Reduction Act. Butte is the only city in Montana to receive the funding. A summary of the grant listed on the EPA's website says the building will be equipped with solar power and satellite communication, as well as other modern amenities like an air filtration system.
This is a real win for the leadership here in Butte, again, to be the only successful applicant from the state of Montana to secure these funds. And we're really excited to see this project come to